I am willing to say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Half-Life Source is the worst video game remake ever made. So, a few days ago I actually played it, because I got it as part of the Half-Life bundle for like $6. And I really regret getting that bundle because that meant that I had to get Half-Life Source. I mean, I saved like $100 or so getting it, but I mean, I still got Half-Life Source, so it kind of disappoints me. But yeah, it is somehow so much worse, and it looks so much worse than the original game that it's based off of. For anyone who doesn't know, Half-Life Source is a remake of the original Half-Life, which came out in 1998. Half-Life Source came out in 2005, and it is so much worse in every single way than the original. But yes, I'm going to just show my experience with it. There were a lot of bugs. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this. So as you can see, as we open the menu, there is already a glitch. This is not even the game, this is just a glitch in the opening menu. As you can see, near where my mouse is floating around, there is a security guard shooting a tentacle, and this tentacle cannot kill him for some reason. So these two immortal beings are just fighting an endless battle forever, and they're never gonna stop. By the way, this is the opening menu. This is not even the game. I've never seen an opening menu which glitches. That's just amazing. Yeah, so this is Half-Life Source, an apparent remaster of the original Half-Life. When I first started playing this, I thought that the tram was floating in midair, but then I realized that there was a track on the ceiling that it was connected to. But that just shows you how low my expectations were for this game, where I was not even surprised when the tram was floating in midair. Visually, it doesn't really look any better than the first Half-Life. In fact, it just looks worse because there are a lot of randomly updated textures, and there were several textures which they just didn't update. So it's a complete mishmash of new textures and old textures, and it's so inconsistent. By the way, this came out in 2005. Half-Life 2 came out a year before this, and it looks infinitely better than this. Like, in 2004, the year before this, that's the year that Halo 2 came out, that's the year that Metal Gear Solid 3 came out. There are already games that looked so much less ugly than this. It's inexcusable, really, especially from a company like Valve. So if anyone doesn't know the story behind this, basically, Valve had an engine called Gold Source. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. But anyway, that's what they made the original Half-Life on. But then when they decided to remake Half-Life, oh, there's the G-Man. I didn't even know that the G-Man was in this. When they were remaking the game into the Source engine, which was their newest engine, which they made Half-Life 2 in, they basically didn't remake the game, they just took everything in the game and moved it to a new engine. And it shows, because there are so many things that just look so out of place, and it's an eyesore to look at. Like, it's miserable. So it was at this point in the game where I actually discovered other humans, and they look so much worse than the original Half-Life. Like, look at this security guard. He looks more alien than the aliens in this game. It looks so unbelievably ugly. Like, it could just be that I had different graphics settings for this, but that looks really bad. Yeah, but as I walk in, I just see how unbelievably, like, how it looks like exactly the same game. It's supposed to be a remaster, and it looks like exactly the same game. Like, there is almost nothing changed here. How do you make a remake of a game 7 years after that game came out, and it looks so much worse? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, so this guy was just dancing for some reason when I walked up to him. I can never figure out why he was just kind of doing it, and he stopped once I came closer to him. So that's kind of a disappointment, I would say. Yeah, but eventually I got to the point where the infamous floating scientist is. This guy is just sitting on nothing. Like, his feet aren't even touching his chair, so he's not just doing a squat. He's literally just floating in midair. And somehow, despite the fact that Valve are kind of picked on by other developers for playtesting their games ridiculously, no one noticed that this one scientist was floating for no reason. It's just it's astounding. Like, how did no one notice that? Like, there are almost no glitches at all in the other Half-Life games, unless you start looking for them. But here, like, this is my first time playing the game, and I've already found like 2 or 3 glitches. It's so bad. So here comes my personal favorite part of the game. This scientist at one point just stops moving and he just starts walking in place. I had no idea why this happened. I assume it's some glitch, and I don't know if it's a glitch with the actual AI or just a glitch in that one spot. But otherwise, it had me laughing for a very, very long time because this guy has somehow figured out how to perfectly walk in place, and it's amazing. It's truly remarkable. Yeah, so here is the famous resonance cascade scene in the test chamber. As you can see, this is a remaster, apparently, and it looks even worse than it did 7 years before this was made. All of the textures look like they came from 1995. They actually look older than the original Half-Life. As you can see, it's just kind of a mishmash of random garbage, and it's horrible to look at, I have to say. It's truly horrible. So it was at this point that my game crashed. It crashed for absolutely no reason that I can think of. And honestly, it feels like the game was being merciful, just letting me leave it, because I was so done with it by that point. Yeah, so I had no idea how much I was going to record, and it just kept going, and I didn't know when to stop. And the game stopped itself so that I didn't have to choose. And honestly, I just have to say thank you, game, for stopping then, because that was very merciful of you. Okay, do not buy this, please. Do not buy this for any reason, unless it's part of a bundle. But yeah, it's really bad.